Hey guys, welcome to another episode. First off, we have an awesome guest today, which I will introduce very shortly, but I want to just start off by checking in with my other girls and seeing how their last week has been. I know somebody here has a pretty awesome announcement, and we're so stoked for her. So I will let you guys kick it off. Sonia, do you want to start there?
Oh yes. Okay, cool. Wait, first, for the gram.
Don't remember.
I was
what's
thinking,
exciting happening?
What's going on? You know, but yeah, no, I'm super excited. So, I on like one of our other episodes, we were talking a little bit about just kind of like knowing what our next journey is and like what the next step is for our business and for us to grow as coaches. So I'm super excited. I actually teamed up. I'm going to be working with Austin Stout as like a co-coach for him. He like doesn't like that term, like another coach with him, like assistant coach or whatever. Junior coach. Yeah. So I'm super excited about that. And for me, like I've been really successful in my business and I absolutely love what I do, but I always want to bring the absolute best to my clients. And because I have such a strong load of functional clients right now, I really wanted to like work with somebody that could help me even more in depth with those people that I'm bringing on. So it's good for him as well. He's been closed out for a while, so he can refer people out to me. It's also great because the clients I have coming on and the clients I have now are just going to get that even more like next level kind of like treatment protocols. And just sometimes, and I'm sure you guys know as a coach, you're kind of like, okay, there's like, all of you know this, like there's not just one way to do things. So there's like 5 different ways maybe for like one specific like thing. Like you've got
set
like,
up. I totally thought there was a secret sauce.
No, yeah, right? Like everyone's like, what's the protocol for SIBO? And it's like, well, dude, what are we talking about here? So this is actually nice because it's going to be like a really good sounding board. So I'm super excited about that. Just got home from Mexico and I leave to Vegas on Saturday. So it's really rough life.
Life. And wow. Sarah, you just got done traveling too, eh?
Yeah, I was just in Pittsburgh for North American. So I didn't have any athletes competing, but I was there supporting a friend, and literally the bodybuilders took over Pittsburgh. There was like 1,200 something competitors. Wow. And yeah, all the Uber drivers were like, yeah, there's like some bodybuilding thing. And we're like, yeah, that's us. Like
orange.
Yeah, no, we're like these little bikini girls in the back of the car, but we're like, we do that too. Like we just, we're not like that kind of bodybuilder. So that was really cool just to be with, our people. I mean, that many competitors, it's a long, long day, but, cool to see everyone and kind of, catch up.
How was everything like with their with COVID and stuff like that there? Was it pretty decent or?
Yeah, I'm trying to think like Uber, it's just, you got to feel out the Uber driver as far as if you have to wear a mask or not in their car. So we went like, I think 50-50 on that with our drivers. But other than that, I mean, Pittsburgh, every freaking restaurant closes at like 9:30 or 10 o'clock.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. So yeah.
Probably help. The help. It's hard to get help.
Probably. Yeah. That's probably it too. Yeah. The kitchen's closed. So, I mean, because they don't have anyone. So that was the only like Saturday night or Friday night. I'm sorry. We kind of had to hunt around we ended up at Cheesecake Factory and got some shitty salads bigger than our heads, but went back and ate oatmeal.
Oh my God. That's awesome. And your friend had a good show?
Yeah, she did well. I think, she kind of got out of it what she wanted.
Good. Well, guys, without further ado, me. Yeah. I had an awesome this past week. I actually just finished up with TRM. It's with Matt, Mindset Matt. You might know him on Instagram. It was a phenomenal 12 weeks that literally flew by. I'm actually thinking about going again through it. I like that accountability. I thrive under pressure. It's just something I know about myself. Some people don't, some people crumble, which is fine. Everybody, as part of being a coach, is finding how you need to work with a client. Some clients need just a little bit more of a softer touch. I just like it rough. I like it a little rough. And I enjoy that. Okay, that's too far. But
for me, I was about to come in with a joke.
Swing back. Yeah. So I like the pressure.
Learning a lot here.
Yeah. Learning a lot. I like the accountability. So it is something that I am thinking about doing. That's why I have a coach, and I have I'm a mentee under Sonia's new boss and coach, which is Austin. And with that, I'm going to introduce you guys to my coach and my boss, which is Jason Theobald, IFBB Pro, Classic Physique, 2 weeks out of his next win, Olympia qualification in the bag. No one else should even show up.
We wish.
He is more though than just my coach. He is the founder, CEO of Scooby Prep. Before that, Natty Nutrition, started a supplement line with Natty Nutrition, supplement line with New Ethics formulations, Feed for Function. It's a coaching platform if you're a coach out there. So, oh, did I mention that he's also an attorney in his, side time? No. He
badass,
and a data too. So let me throw that out there too.
Yeah.
And a data too.
Single data too.
Yeah,
that's a whole different ballgame.
All of it. Yeah, and he does classes. So we decided to bring Jason on. I'll let him kind of do an intro of himself, but he has experience working with transgender athletes. And that is something that I know a lot of coaches do not have experience in. It's very niche. And I think it's something we should all start being more experienced in. It's where things are going. And we want to make sure that we are well-rounded. So we wanted to bring you on, the expert, and kind of pick your brain and let you tell your experience.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think, you gave a better intro than I could have given him myself. So I don't think I need to toot my horn anymore. I'm just going to leave it at that. So Alex Tilinca, you guys are going to talk to him eventually, I think pretty soon. I hope I didn't let the cat out of the bag, but that's so. And I helped him. He reached out to me about 2 years ago now and said, I want to be really honest with you. I'm a female to male, transgender. I want to be an IFBB Pro. I've reached out to a few coaches and they weren't interested. I really hope you would coach me. And, I was kind of shocked that someone would even really say no. I love challenges and I like new shit. And I'm like, all right, this is a challenge. This is new. I think I can do this just using logic. I told him I had never done it before, but that, a lot of the principles still hung true. There was just going to be some probably things that we had to discuss with the doctor. And so, he was elated that, I was willing to do it, but it didn't really even seem like that. It never crossed my mind to say no, to be honest with you. He seemed very excited about his goals and I wanted to help. So. And
obviously we are going to be bringing him on. So that will be next. And we'll be getting his story, but if you don't mind kind of walking us through, what information did you feel that you needed from him to even start him up? Because it's obviously not a traditional situation. And so when intaking a client, for those who don't know, I can say all the people on this call at least have a pretty excessive intake, an excessive waiver, and it's for a reason, because the little shit matters. And the details matter for so many reasons, whether it comes down to coachability or how you're going to set up a client. So with him and where he was in his starting journey, what were maybe some different information that you felt, or some information that was you normally take and you're like, we'll get this information, but this is more important?
Well, these clients aren't that different, but the main thing that I had to know, and this is what is going to come up nonstop, they are on hormone replacement. They are on testosterone to bring basically male puberty along. And so I needed to know, how much is your dose per week? What are you taking? Are you on estrogen blockers? Which I believe at the time he was not. He had already kind of used those to prevent female puberty. You'll have to clarify that on, but I'm pretty sure he was not on those anymore. So that was good. He was, already on to the testosterone and moving forward in that direction.
How old were you when you guys started? How
I was 42.
Ooh, wow. How old was Alex when you guys started working together? Because he's 20 now.
20 now. I'm pretty sure he was 18 or just turned 18.
And he already started to transition?
Yes. So he had already had top surgery. So basically what happens with them, and I might not get this exact right, and you can tease it out of him, but like, it's an extensive process. Like, you can't just say, I feel like I'm a female and I want to do this. They make them go through therapy. And then if they go through therapy, and I think it's like 2 years, if they still want this, then they'll do the hormone blockers to prevent. And then if they, still want it, then they'll go ahead and start the testosterone and things of that nature. When he was 17, I think, is when you can have the top surgery. And so he had already done that as well. So when he came to me, he was under muscle, but he had little abs and, was maybe only 135 pounds and looked like, a 17 or 18-year-old boy would look. Not super muscular, but had a good base. And he was on 80 milligrams, I believe, of testosterone a week. Okay. That's not a ton if you think about it.
No.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually surprising.
They usually do around 80 to 100. So, at 100
milligrams or IUs?
Milligrams.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I needed to know that info because right away his goals were, I want to be an IFBB pro. Yeah. And so, one thing that I thought about real quick was, oh gosh, I'm putting someone whose gender is different into another division, but I was quickly okay with it because it's a female going up against men. I mean, he's naturally going to be shorter, naturally going to just carry less muscle. So I was okay with that, but that was, something to think about. But so he was good.
Does the NPC have rules on that right now?
Not that we found or they seem to care about. I would imagine a man trying to do figure would stick out like a sore thumb and probably be something that maybe would be mandated down. But I bet if a guy showed up and tried right now, I don't think they have rules against it.
I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like in the Olympics this year that there was a male who transitioned to a female and competed in powerlifting or bodybuilding or weightlifting in the Olympics as a man competed as a female. And there was like a big, obviously, up in arms about that because I mean, has a little bit of an advantage there.
Yeah. I'm surprised that happened, but I mean, if the Olympics isn't banning it, I'm sure the NPC doesn't have rules around it. So
but honestly, some of the figure competitors are on far more test than that.
Yeah. Right. Well,
to be honest, I mean, so.
I was gonna say I know females that have higher HRT than that, so
yeah.
Impressive. Can I actually ask on that when it came to, and here again, I do want to say like whatever is like inappropriate, this is obviously a new topic, and I want to make sure that you're comfortable. And if there's ever something that we ask that's without that zone, just shut it down.
I will only be uncomfortable if I feel like it's Alex's something to tell, and then you can ask him. So if I think that's the case, I know he's an open book, but if I feel like that's something, which I really don't because he's such an open book, but if I feel like that's the case, I'll say it.
Yeah, for sure.
But so to finish that last train of thought though, the main thing was to find out the testosterone dosing and then to have that discussion because 80 milligrams is not going to be enough to make a female to male become an IFBB pro.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so it was like, all right, we got to have this discussion. We got to have a discussion with your doctor. And so that was the biggest, I think, difference. And then, I really started macros more like a woman than I did a man.
That was actually my next question.
Okay. Well, go ahead and ask then.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask when it came to starting, because obviously this has drastically changed to where he is now. And anyone who's listening to this should definitely check out his Instagram to see before and afters. So when you started with him, he obviously had a little, a smaller frame to where he is now. So when you started him, you just kind of alluded that you started him like in a female range when it comes to calories and macros. So how would that look?
Yeah. So generally with females, I find 1 gram per pound of protein is pretty good when you're trying to like grow. If you start putting some, they're outliers. I mean, I've had some do 210, 220, they exist, but a lot of times you start to see more constipation with how the bowels maneuver around the reproductive hormone organs and things of that nature. So I was like, you know what, this makes sense because testosterone's not cranking yet. The level of muscle's not there yet to treat him more like a female in terms of macronutrients. But here's the thing. He wants to look more manly. So he wants more shoulders. He wants more sweep to his quads. He wants a little waist. And so I put him into a surplus, but I kept protein lower, got the carbs and the fats up. More like you would do when you're working with a female. I didn't go the 1.5, 2 times body weight, guy using PEDs type formula. So it was a lot more like a female to start. Now his body has morphed and protein's higher. And, we've been on gear for a while. We've built muscle. The body acts a lot more like a male.
Yeah.
But the biggest problem that I see with this group, we know ladies prefer almost to be hungry or empty. They don't like to push calories. They think that they should do more and eat less, right?
Mm-hmm. We're all like 3 ladies are like,
well, yeah.
So, I mean, that's what's pervasive in our culture. You guys have learned, but that's what's pervasive. And so you've got, people that want to transition and they're still in that mind frame. Oh, well, I got to eat a little bit and train. Well, that's not going to make you have broad shoulders and look more like a guy. You've got to get eating. So I had to teach Alex that you're way under eating. Okay. We got to get these carbs up. We got to get this protein up. Your testosterone dose is not going to cut it for your goals. My first bump was 300 milligrams. And I said, you need to talk to your doctor. Okay.
Did you question on that? Did you run Dutch or anything just to see which pathways he preferred? Or none of that matters at that point because we're pushing for those.
I mean, that's overkill. I mean, if someone has an issue where, let's say he was having like hair loss or really bad acne, which he wasn't at the time, but he ended up having. But I think it's because we put him through sped up puberty. But I didn't run anything. Could I have? Sure. But I mean, I wasn't going to make him spend $400. I mean, I didn't do it.
So he was feeling good. Like biofeedback was all great. And he was just kind of like ready to rock, basically.
Yeah.
How was it working with, when you said, checking with his doctor and stuff, was his doctor pretty, of course,
his doctor obviously was like, I can't approve this, but I understand your goals.
Fair enough.
And if that's what you want to do, go for it. And I mean, he went through puberty really fast. Like his beard started to come in intensely quick. He did get some acne because it was just very sped up. I think they used the 80 to 100 to take the slower approach. And anyone who's transitioning female to male, if they're not trying to be a bodybuilder, by all means, don't do what we're talking about. But if your goal is to be an IFBB pro, then, that is Alex's goal. And so the advice needed to start matching his goals. But his doctor, go ahead.
Like when it comes to testosterone in these like transgender transitions, do you have to because I know if a female has super high testosterone levels or even even running high HRT, insulin sensitivity can become an issue.
Yeah.
And it can almost bring on like a semi PCOS thing. Is that like something that has to be looked at when transitioning a person?
That's a good question. We never had any of those issues when we got labs.
Is he an ectomorph on those sides of things? It looks like
he's an ectomorph.
He runs on that side, yeah.
I'm sure if you have someone that might be maybe a little more meso or endomorphic trying to do it, that could be an issue. But we never had any of those. We never had any of those issues. And when we do look at labs, insulin sensitivity has always been great with him.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I just didn't know if that's something that ever, I know it
can certainly happen. Someone who's prone to that 100%. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And so for him at like this point, when obviously you'll have increased things, is there ever any worry? Like, he has fully transitioned, so there is no issue when it comes to any female hormones rearing like back up, or any issues when it comes to that as far as like gyno or?
We have never had any issue like that. The glands are pretty much removed, as I understand it. So, none of that's ever came up. When the acne was flaring, I made sure he was taking more Arimidex and things of that nature to combat that, in case it was, basically testosterone converting too hard and causing the acne. Didn't seem to really help a ton. So I think he did eventually go on Accutane for one cycle, and that dried everything up, and we were good to go after that. But yeah, did I answer your question?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
100%.
All right.
I did want to ask one more, before I don't want to hog it there for the girls. When it comes to training, when you first started with him, how did, because that's something obviously to consider, because he wasn't where he is now then, and you did treat macros more like a female. Not that there's training for males and females, but there is. So how did you treat training, like volume, especially with what's going on with it internally within his body? Like, how did that affect recovery and things?
So, at that point in time, I know more now than I know then. And I basically just rotated him 4 days of training for like 8 weeks, and then we'll put him on 5, kind of like I do with women, and then base it on biofeedback. To be honest with you, once the testosterone was in at 300, I think I probably could have trained him harder, to be honest with you. Out of the chute. But I did do it more like a female, and there's nothing wrong with 4 days training. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. It seems to work better with women a lot of times to keep cortisol down and different things of that nature. But there's times to overreach with women as well. So I did kind of flop 4 and 5 back and forth. Volume's never been too high with him, so it was never an issue there. And his recovery's always been really pretty solid. I think, having the testosterone in and tripling almost where his dose was, his body really took off. I mean, we won, his show that we did, his division, against other males. So his body just always kind of took off and took to it well.
Yeah. Do you feel that, or you haven't worked with the reverse as far as a male transitioning to a female?
I have not.
And now, speaking hypothetically, because we haven't there, how would you feel that transition would go hormonally, and what would be some things? Actually, touch on both. What would be some things? Because Alex's went smoothly. His went relatively smoothly. But for the coaches out there that might be beginning to work with transgender athletes, what are some things to look for on labs, understanding that it is a female transitioning to a male and vice versa?
Well, I mean, whenever you increase testosterone, I don't care if it's female or male, hematocrit can go up. So you've got to watch that. That's, how thick and viscous blood is. You've got to watch cholesterol. It's still going to be an issue, for whoever, male or female. But, I think you got to watch like the acne situation too. That surge in hormones, I think is what did it for him. Sonia had a good point. Like, if I had checked 5, alpha reductase, maybe I would have, if he was DHT dominant, maybe I would have put him on, saw palmetto or something to kind of ease that. So there is hormone surges that happen. And like I said, his thing was acne, but I can see blood pressure issues. I can see cholesterol issues. Anytime you really bump hormones, insulin insensitivity, like Sonia said, with a female, I mean, you are putting that in his body. And when I did it, he wasn't that far into the transition. See anything else? See, glucose.
I think these are even things to think about if you are a female and you're on HRT.
Oh, they are.
Watching those dosages, especially like sometimes with clinics that tend to run on a higher side, you know, and sometimes they're like, let's start here and then we can always pull back. Well, you may not feel those side effects because they're happening inside, you know, and you're not necessarily realizing like what's going on. And I know like that I didn't realize how high I was until we ran labs. And then it was just like, holy fucking shit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we didn't really have to have this conversation because he just seemed so even keeled. But, you know, even aggression and just, you know, the change in kind of thought process. I mean, you give that much testosterone and, you know, there's going to be changes in terms of thought process, neurotransmitters, all those things. So I would give a warning to someone, if you're already kind of a hothead or, you know, whatever the term may be, you might want to watch that as you were to increase that dose. And, you know, like, just so like we're talking here, everyone knows they should run it by their doctor. Like, you know, he definitely did. I mean, no one's telling you to go ahead and start tripling your transition dose. Things that, you know, if a guy was doing it, and so, you know, they're blocking testosterone, they're giving high doses of estrogen. I mean, obviously they want gynecomastia.
Okay. It seems so wrong to me. I'm like, just like high at that. I'm like, no.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I think acne could be an issue with the estrogen surge. I think emotions could be a nightmare with that. And, you know, I would warn a man of that. You know, they might feel depressed. They might feel a lot of anxiety for a while. Men's progesterone is super low. And I'm not sure if they give some progesterone support to balance that estrogen out like you would in a woman, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
think they'd have to.
You would think, to combat the anxiety. So, you know, I'm assuming they use progesterone and estrogen and try to get that into a balance. So, you know, there's a lot of hormone surges there going on that I think would be more on the emotional side. Whereas, you know, the female to male, they're going to be looking at aggression. I feel like the man to female, there's going to be maybe more emotional side things going on, anxiety, things like that. So
yeah, I think above all, like if a coach, you know, I definitely say that the coaches who said no, I'm hoping they said no to working with Alex because they didn't feel confident working with the hormonal piece. In which case,
hormonal piece, right?
You know, in which case, good on them, because I can say that if you are going to be working with somebody with any type of hormones, whether that's like HRT or anything, you need to know what you're doing, you know, and at least also know what you don't know and when to refer out, I think is really important too.
I think in the best case scenario, you would have an endocrinologist, or I'm not even sure what the doctor's called that overlooks them, but I believe they're still endocrinologists. They probably just specialize in transition. If you can find one that's more liberal, you know, and respects their goals and is willing to watch labs or run them for you, so you just have an easy access, someone to bounce some other, you know, things off of, it'd be the best of both worlds. His doctor was okay with him going forward, but was not, like, as I understand it, wanting to really give advice on it.
Right. Fair enough.
That makes sense.
Outside of the scope of practice. I think there's a lot when you're talking about hormones, because even on the flip side, you know, we have like, you know, too much estrogen in the body, we have like a higher risk of like breast cancer and stuff like that. Like, so it goes both ways. I was actually reading an article the other day and kind of like just reading about this a little bit more. And it actually talked about the mortality rate in transgenders because of the predisposition with the changing of hormones and the surge on the different sides, because of the period of having to go through times of super high doses of hormones and then maintaining that it can actually, like, there's a lot of risks that come down the line. There can be, no blanket statements, a lot of risks that can come down the line if not just like really monitored, you know. And it's amazing, you know, that he's got a coach who understands the functional side of things and gut health and the other things that come into play, because it's true. If you had somebody who had a higher body fat percentage and higher prone to stress or some liver issues, then they're not really aware of it. And they start throwing that much test at it, not even your amount, but even just the lower amount, the aromatase and the aromatization of that, even on anti-estrogens, you're just combating a lot of like body image or body, the way the body is shaped is just going to not necessarily take on the form that you want because, well,
it's not going to be as masculine.
Exactly.
And it's going to be like rolling a snowball up a hill with someone pushing down.
At what point did you start incorporating the estrogen blockers?
I believe we did that around the time his skin got a little agitated.
Okay.
And it just didn't do a whole lot. It's been a while. It's possible I did it right off the bat, but I don't think I did right away. Just something tells me. Alex will probably remember exactly. But I know once the skin got bad, I was thinking, all right, this is probably aromatization. Let's get some 8X in there. But it just didn't seem to, it just kind of had my own. It needed some Accutane or something along those lines. I tried some other things. It just wouldn't get great.
So fast forwarding a little bit, how long did you guys work together before you started prep?
It was, I would say 6 to 7 months, somewhere over there.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
So, I took his, I got his calories up, got his metabolic rate up and set up the prep nicely, got more size on him. He got a little, not chubby, but, just a little fluffy, first type of bulk really. But I just kept saying, listen, this is going to put the muscle on the delts. It's going to put the muscle on the quads. It's going to give you that X frame that you speak of, in his mind, that was masculine. And so we did that for about 6 to 7 months and then did a cut.
Okay. And it was for physique or classic?
He did classic.
Okay. Awesome. And so prep, were you increasing his dosages at all during that?
Prep, yes. Prep. Okay. We definitely ran a prep cycle. I mean, it was moderate because he's young and
shit.
No. Okay. So if you're listening, we just lost Jason. Hopefully he'll join us here again.
We were just getting to the drugs. No.
I know. No. Well, we hope he comes back on. We're just I mean, honestly, it's like already so much. If we just did this, it's just been really cool to hear about from a coaching standpoint.
It's really interesting. Just talking to Jason, like how open-minded he was off the bat, like didn't even think twice of it. Had the skill set to go about.
I think that's the big thing for me is like, I would hope that those other coaches who said no, it was that they just weren't comfortable because of their skill set, to which case, hats off to them for not diving into something that they aren't familiar with and that they're not confident in. I think Jason does have, we all know Jason's background. He's a wealth of information, has so much background behind that. So he obviously does have the confidence there to do that. But I think that's one thing that, if you're a new coach out there, this would not be a situation where, you want to have your start, you want to have a better hormonal scope under your belt before that. But I think it's just so awesome that he did, was able to work with Alex, because Alex is an incredible human. First, everyone, I can't wait for him to be on the podcast. But also like an incredible athlete, and the amount of work that he's had to do. People think this is one thing that a lot of people think about, HRT, they think about PEDs, and they just think that you take something and automatically poof, you have like insta shreds, you have this body that just shows up. And that's not it at all. That is not it at all.
Because we all know people, and I'm talking, not HRT, like people taking, various PEDs and they look like shit. Like they don't look, it's because
not doing anything.
Doesn't equal good results. High test doesn't equal shredded female. Like these myths of or shredded male or female, you know what I mean? Like, oh, if I do a little bit of test in my routine, or if I do a little bit of this, that's the thing. And same thing, I'll have clients and like, it's like if you're a little bit overweight or if you're having trouble losing weight, just adding tests is going to make you just drop body fat.
Exactly.
That's not how it works.
Test is not a fat burner, you know, and I think a lot of people, they think that automatically they start testosterone and they literally are going to look like they have more muscle and less fat. And that's honestly, we've talked about it and said it before, like the quickest way to like honestly become insulin resistant and kind of have that like diabetic, you know, look as far as, you know, maybe getting fluffy and having a little bit of an abdominal belly, you know, and losing that insulin resistance or insulin sensitivity is to be in an unhealthy position and start, you know, running, you know, shit tons of gear on top of that, or throw high, you know, test levels on a woman, whether that's HRT via the pellet or however else. More does not equal more. Yeah.
And like we just found out when Jason was saying, we don't know what stream that's going to go down. So like we have different options, and you can literally like, if you're just kind of, if you're a cruise, oh, he's coming back. If you're like a cruise ship and you're trying to go down one,
sorry, can we splice?
Oh, we're good. We're still going.
All right. You just took over. This is ladies running it. We were like, all right, we got this.
We got this.
Like, I don't need that guy. I'm sorry.
No, we were so sad. We're like, we were just getting to the drugs.
I know. We were saying we were just getting to the drugs. So starting prep. So obviously, you guys, we didn't just start recklessly pumping drugs. So Jason, you take it over.
No, it was a moderate cycle. I know that because he's young. You know, there was no point in going crazy. I'll be honest with you. I can't remember what it was. I don't have that kind of brain capacity to remember, but I know it was mild. He'll probably remember because it was his first show cycle. You don't really forget that kind of stuff. But I can tell you we went moderate. He has a nice physique, nice lines. It was a local show. There was no reason to go crazy. And, you know, to be honest with you, usually with 20-year-olds, I wouldn't use any gear. Mm-hmm. But I mean, this is, you know, a female transitioning to a male to compete with men. Yeah. So it was pretty much, he'd already taken some to get a masculine look that he wanted. So we went ahead, but I just want to put it out there that anyone listening, generally speaking, when a 20-year-old works with me, they're not touching gear for years. I mean, I was 33 before I even looked at it. So that's just me. But this is a different.
Why is that? I like you actually to elaborate on that. Why? Because I know why, and the other girls here, we know why, because we feel the same way. But
why do I make someone wait?
Yeah.
There's a couple reasons. Number one, you may not stick with the sport, and now you've basically downgraded your HPTA before it's even developed. And then, you know, 25 is about when it's fully developed. And so now, you know, you've put these hormones in your body. Now you might need HRT the rest of your life. Not the end of the world, but like in your 20s, that kind of sucks. Like that's, you know, that could be 60 some more years. That's going to take a toll. And then number two, I think you should learn your physique in terms of how does your body really do things? Does it need lower carb and more fats? Does it need more carbs? Like what's your baseline? And once you add gear, it's like rocket fuel. So things change. And I feel like you should learn your body. Number three, I feel like you should exhaust your natural gains and then use gear as kind of like a polish only when you're getting ready for shows. And then in the off season, you just don't need as much if you built that nice natural muscle. And so that's a longevity thing, where you can do this for years to come. Obviously it's a personal decision. I'm not here to say do gear or any of that. But, you know, I wanted to at least make that clear that I don't think 20-year-olds generally should be on, but this is a special case where goals are trying to be met, but also we have a female transitioning to a male competing against men.
I think too, it's worth noting that, you know, with this, that Alex did the work. And I think that that's something that I do want to say, and everyone probably hears me say it all the time is, and we just got done saying it actually, Jason, when you were off there, is that you can't just expect to, you know, increase whatever you're taking it for, you know, whether you're transitioning or not. It's not just about taking more of something and expecting that the results are going to come. And I think that that's what's really, I respect about you so much about asking or telling someone you should wait, because let me tell you, I think that a lot of people aren't training to the maximum of their capability. I think there's a lot of what I'm learning now, and my training age is there was a lot of wasted, like, when they say trim the fat, like trim the fat of your training, like there's so much bullshit training about just adding more sets, more reps for nothing. And I think that that's something I really want to point out, that with Jason working with Alex, it wasn't all about giving him more testosterone or running this or running that. Like, Alex had to do the work, and the protocol had to be there, because Alex wouldn't look like he looks. If you did the same protocol for just anybody, it would not turn out the same unless that work ethic is there.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've got guys you could give 300 milligrams, they wouldn't look half as good.
Yeah.
So,
male or
guys
female.
on my roster. I just mean guys I see in the gym, and my guys work. But I'm just saying, like, you'd be shocked in the typical crunch how many dudes are actually on testosterone. I mean, it's
we're saying that we
really start finding out.
You
get into like them nooks and crannies. You're like, that dude's on. Wait, that guy. You're like, damn. And so it's about
all of a sudden it's just like that dude's on like made like serious doses of tren. You're like that dude doesn't even look like he lifts, and he's been on the Stairmaster for an hour.
I got more on the machine than he does. Yeah.
Right. So it's everything together. But the advice had to match the goal, and I still believe in him. I still believe he will be an IFBB pro.
Yeah.
I think too, another thing to add in is, like, when we're talking about adding drugs in his first prep and him being so young, keep in mind, if he was born as a male, he would have had 15 years more testosterone, more of an advantage. So when Jason brought those extracurriculars in, he was trying to bring him, he had to speed up the process a little bit more and give him that boost, because the other people competing on that stage, even if they were quote unquote natty in a sense, they already had a good 15 years of being in a testosterone dominance environment, building muscle.
Correct.
So they were brought in for a time and a place. And I think, like Jason said, like, adding those in too early can actually set you back more than it can push you forward, because you may have a good run for a year or two, but if you're not working with a quality fucking coach like Jason is, you can be pushed in the wrong direction that you don't come back from that.
Oh my God, it could be such a shit show. Which, can I ask, now that we're going kind of, through prep, one, like, did anything change as far as, because of the situation, anything change that you had to do differently? And then I would like you to talk about if anything changed as far as like a PCT afterwards.
Yes. So what happened during prep was I had worked his calories up. I started at 1 gram per protein, but I ended up getting them a little higher with the protein. And so for a minute, as we started prep, I left the protein high. Was doing my normal kind of like carb cycling, and he dropped maybe 10 pounds, and it got real hard. And I said, you know what? I'm going to treat you and diet you like I diet my females. So I dropped his protein back to 1 gram per pound, brought carbs down a little bit more, not as much HIIT, a little more walking, and sure as shit, his body started to respond. He was constipated, so that was a problem. It was just too much protein for his system. So I was able to kind of like diet him early on, more like a man, but then at some point I had to revert back to what his baseline genetics are. And I don't remember at what point in prep, but maybe we were around 8 weeks out or something, and I pulled that trigger, and that got us the rest of the way there. And we encountered the same thing this last time. He got really constipated, and I said, man, I think we're going to drop your protein. And it's always kind of like a mind fuck for him. Like, I'm going to lose muscle. And I'm like, no, you're not. And then we do it, and, digestion gets better. So it seems like I'm wondering if the next time we prep, we won't have to do that at all. Because it's still so much muscle. But even this time we were, I think, 4 weeks out, and we had to do it. So every time he's kind of being able to diet longer, quote unquote, like a man. But I still encountered that intense constipation with him again on the higher protein during prep.
Yeah, I think that'll be interesting to see future preps as he progresses in this sport, because figure up to age 20, it was more, female physiology. So like, how much further, go ahead, Sonia.
No, I'm listening. I'll afterwards. I'm listening.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, like, it would just be interesting to see future preps, like how that changes, plus more muscle mass, etc.
I'd be curious too to see what thyroid looks like, or what thyroid changes happen during his testosterone changes and coming up and down. And then if that might even, I mean, like obviously like motility issues, thyroid naturally downregulates during prep. But if it's like, if the change during the seasons of high had changed at all, or if possibly like progesterone is playing a role, not necessarily into the dieting, but just into his fluctuations with motility.
I don't know. The last time we looked at his labs, his progesterone was out of a guy's. It was 0.1.
Same.
Yeah.
Oh wait, that was like more than something else.
Right.
Oh wait, that's mine.
So he's like, yeah. Does he have 5 estradiol? Yeah, me too.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I do know that testosterone in, therapeutic doses are thyroid protective and help. But, when you start revving up higher doses, it can actually go the opposite direction.
Almost like mimicking PCOS, right?
Yeah. And, it's possible that there was some down regulation. A lot of times during prep, I don't always run labs. I mean, someone's 4 weeks out, you're just going to mind fuck them. Like, if they're going to get ready, they're going to get ready. Like,
especially a coach who can read labs. You know what I mean?
I just kind of like, listen, like, we can support it with minerals. We can give you some mag citrate. We can pull the protein. We can make sure your fiber's in, your water's high. And usually that worked. But yeah, I mean, it's possible there was some down regulation, but God, when you're 4 weeks out, there's always some down regulation, really. So
yeah.
I really think it was a natural fiber thing. Carbs just kept getting lower, and I kept the protein high. When I pulled the protein down and gave some of the calories back in carbs, but not all of it. So what I mean is, you pull 50 protein and maybe give back 30 carb. You still got a deficit, but now you've got that extra fiber coming in and less bulk of the meat and protein to digest.
And do you not bring the carbs as high just to keep the thermic effect of, obviously, protein
just to
energy
keep burning? Like, I figure we're stalled, right? We're stalled, we're constipated. So I probably need to create a little bit of an energy drop. So in carbs, unfortunately, you digest more than protein, right? So when you swap them out, you're actually getting more calories, whereas protein's more wasted when you burn it. Then we're very efficient at using the calories.
The thermic effect of food as well.
Yeah, so I just kind of say, all right, well, I'm giving you 30 back. I'm not going to give you all 50, because then we kind of would actually be adding calories, even though it's a 4-to-4 swap. You digest more of your carbs and use it. So
it's super cool. I wish that we could do this, not like obviously like with him, but like a case study, right? And just like run labs as you're transitioning, just to see what exactly happens in the body on both ends.
I mean, honestly, Sonia, if you probably put something out there that you would be willing to help a transgender for free, they probably would take you up on it. There's a lot of them that are young. They don't have the money for coaching. I get contacted all the time. And, if you're like, hey, we're going to run labs at these intervals, I bet someone would take you up on it. I'll be honest with you.
I'm going to do a post, actually. I want to like, maybe just like a minor post to reach out to some people I know. I actually have a client who is a nurse practitioner in a transgender clinic that they do. And she brought salt. I was using saw palmetto with her, and she brought it to the doctor, and they're like, this is a great idea. I was like,
like, no shit.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, I'm sure there's a huge community that would love to, be kind of following, Alex's, footsteps. Training wise, like, were there like any body parts like that you had trouble, packing size on?
That's a good question. I mean, so his legs grow better, and I think that's kind of normal. Like, if you think like all the years I've trained in the gym, I have some female partners, and their legs were always about like 80% as strong as mine, but then the upper body, would be like 40% or 30%, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I think if you look at his physique, he's pretty fucking balanced, but I still think we got to slap, if I'm looking at the physique, we got to slap more still on the delts, the arms, chest than we do, say, the legs, the hamstrings, the glutes.
Yeah, his quads are great.
Right. So, you know, I think that just comes from, you know, starting as a female,
Sure.
you know, just strict up body type, and just kind of how things are. But generally speaking, he grows very even. I think he has great genetics for it, and he looks like a little Lee Labrada, which is great.
Yeah, totally. Any for the PCT, anything that you did differently that you normally wouldn't do, or any considerations?
Yeah, it's a little different. Like, so I usually, so if someone was 20, I would take them off the cycle. Like, so they would be done with the show and I would pull them off all gear and I would run Clomid, ACG, maybe even some HMG and get their natural tests back online 6 weeks.
Wait, I want to stop you. So you're telling me that you're not running HCG all the time that you're running tests?
Wait, isn't HCG a fat burner?
I'm sorry, Jason. Jason's like, what? Like you were fired from my coaching.
Oh, these are inside jokes that we have. Yeah.
So that would be something I would do for a 20-year-old, right? Like get them off completely. If someone was, you know, 30 plus, I might pull them down to 200 tests, maybe leave them on a little HGH, and we would just cruise for 12 weeks or something and do a health phase, right? With him, there's obviously no reason for HCG, things of that nature. And even though he's 20, we're not trying to restore, you know, baby making capabilities, all those things. So I put him back on his replacement dose right away. So, and you know, that'll always stay. So is it different? But I mean, it's just common sense. He's got to go back on what keeps his body where he's happy.
Yeah. And you supported like HPA stuff, like normal stuff that you typically would coming off of, like coming post.
Yeah, I mean, we pulled back training, you know, worked up the food, de-stress, all those different things. But I didn't there was nothing that I did to you know, support luteinizing hormone, anything like that. I just put him back on his TRT. There's really nothing that needs to be done further.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm so excited to talk to him. This has been so cool.
Oh, it'll be a good interview. He'll let you, I mean, just verify, but he let us ask anything.
Yeah. I think there's such a community out there, you know, as far as folks who are transitioning, that I really feel like need coaches and need coaches to help guide them, because they're looking for physique changes that also come with that new gender, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it's really impressive. And I think it's amazing, number one, that, you know, he was able to find you and reach out to you. And I definitely want anyone listening to this to also not be scared to reach out. Because I know myself, Sonia, Sarah, obviously Jason, we are not afraid to help folks who are wanting some guidance. And I know that also all three people on this call, we all have mentors. We all reach out to people like Jason. We don't overstep what we don't know. People are not experiments to us. And that's something that's really important that I do want to say. We do believe in talking to our clients and making sure that we're all on board. And I just want to commend you, Jason. I think it's absolutely phenomenal, you know, that you were able to work with Alec and y'all achieve what y'all have, because I mean, Jesus, like Alex looks amazing, like absolutely phenomenal. And he's worked so hard, you know, under your guidance through that, because that could have gone very differently for him, working underneath another coach. And I'm really glad that, you know, he found you and that you were able to also educate him to be able to coach other athletes as well.
Yeah. He's been great. You know, I knew he kind of had that it factor that I kind of just look for and kind of see and know. So yeah, I mean, you know, I don't know that I did anything special other than support, listen, and adjust for goals. And was just willing to I didn't even see us take a chance, just learn something new. And just apply logic to, you know, the things that I know about the body and just apply it in that situation. So
yeah. Well, let me tell you, your logic is a lot more than a lot of people's. So I think that
Jason's, I mean, like all of us have taken like super in-depth trainings. I worked with Jason as a coach. Like he's phenomenal. Like he knows way more than your even advanced coach, I would say, and definitely like continues to learn and like educate himself on new stuff. So I think it's beyond just kind of like, hey, I'm a coach, just gave it my best try.
So yeah.
Thank you.
That is for sure. Well, guys, I think that was an incredible episode. And I want to thank you, Jason, for coming on with us.
Thanks for having me.
Be the last time that you were on.
No,
so
I'll come on. You guys just let me know what you want
Yeah,
to hear me blab about for an hour. I'll come on.
Awesome. We're going to hold you to it. Well, guys, thanks
Definitely.
so much for listening to us. Thank you, Jason. And we will see you guys next time.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.